Hey, day 10 of 31 Days of Horror, and I've got a Dario Argento movie tonight. It's from the 90s and it's not got a brilliant reputation. I mean, he's Gaston Leroux adaptation, The Phantom of the Opera. It's from 1998. It stars his daughter Asia Argento and also stars Julian Sands as the Phantom. The movie was made mainly in Hungary, and most of supporting parts are cast with Hungarian actors, and the costume designer was Hungarian as well. This film is set in Paris in the 1800s and tells the story of this disfigured maniac who falls in love with an opera singer. However, in this version, the maniac isn't disfigured. Julian Sands is not disfigured in the movie. The ugly thing about him is his wig. Since it's a period movie, costumes are of immense importance in Phantom of the Opera. There is great set dressing, courtesy of set designer and artist Massimo Antonello Gelling, who's worked on such movies as Island of the Fishman or Gates of Hell and a bunch of others. Phantom of the Opera has a fantastic, sumptuous look to it. It looks really expensive. The beginning of the movie actually looks like a more or less conventional movie, especially the opening credits, which are quite start out quite slowly with that quite syrupy and slow tune from Ennio Morricone, and then there is this bolt of lightning and things turn a bit more Dario Argento. I felt the movie took its time getting started, getting warmed up. It's a few minutes before we feel like we are getting to the conflict. I didn't really want. I wasn't sure whether this monster, the Phantom, really needed a backstory. But writers Gerard Braque and Dario Argento gave him one. In this case, he's this baby who was abandoned in the sewers beneath the Paris Opera, and some rats rescue the baby and bring the baby up as one of their own. So there is that pretty incredible scene right at the beginning with rats rescuing this little wicker basket containing a baby, pulling it out of the water. So this is where my disbelief was already kind of at its breaking point, and the movie was just starting. There are some gorgeous visuals in Dario Argento's Phantom. Cinematographer is Ronnie Taylor, who's previously lensed Dario Argento's opera, and he would go on to shoot my favorite late period Dario Argento movie, which is Sleepless. It's a feast for the eyes. Phantom of the Opera is one of Dario Argento's final movies where you can say, yes, it's got his visual panache. There are beautiful sets, beautiful costumes, great light, great cinematography, and editing is also top-notch. The film on the whole has been subject to plenty of criticism, and I'm not here to try and rehabilitate Phantom. I just wanna say a few words how I feel about this movie, and the reason people criticize it, in my opinion, is because it's a movie without a hero. There isn't much of Phantom in this film. We have Julian Sands, we have Asia Argento, and they have a romance, but their characters are really quite boring. Like, if you look at it as a love story, there is this guy, he picks up a young girl, young inexperienced girl. The guy is also kind of a recluse. He promises her the world. When they meet, he says, look, from now on, our life will be perfect. That's more or less me quoting the dialogue. Everything will be fantastic, will be at the top of the world. From now on, it's just going to be wine and roses. And she believes him, okay? I mean, seriously, this... Speaking of acting, I watched the Italian dubbed version of Phantom of the Opera. And quality, dubbing quality is not the highest. It feels like it's a TV movie because not only is lip sync ignored, I'm not bothered about that. I'm used to that in Italian movies. However, it's just some of the secondary performers, some of the voice casting and performances were quite indifferent, I felt. So it let the movie down a lot, because the movie looks really sumptuous and splendid. You know, there is also a very appropriate Ennio Morricone score. If we forget that quite conventional, or, you know, love theme, there is lots of nice dark passages where Morricone really rocks the way we love him. But dialogues are not always fantastic, and dubbing, Italian dubbing, is, I didn't think it was on the level. It reminded me of weak Italian dubbing also on Mario Bava's Hatchet for the Honeymoon, another one where dubbing really lets it down because it's contemporary dubbing. Maybe I should watch the English version at some point, but usually with an Italian movie you go with the Italian track, and that wasn't good here. So performances were not brilliant, and the wigs, they really hurt my eyes. The Phantom, he's not disfigured, but he has this really greasy, long, horrible hair. Oof, he looks vile. And a lot of these opera divas and some of the opera staff, I guess, I don't know, they're dressed, it's beyond camp, and I'm not a super fan of camp, especially when it's such lavishly produced camp with tons of money thrown at the movie, and it's basically quite, quite silly, really. There is plenty of gore in Phantom of the Opera. It's not always clear how Phantom dispatches his victims. Like, there is the opening double or triple murder. It's a tradition with Dario Argento to open his movies with double or triple murders, and Phantom is no exception here. And it's a pretty promising sequence, and we do see some very nasty carnage, or at least aftermath of this carnage. It isn't, however, always clear what sort of powers this Phantom possesses, because on the one hand side he seems to be just like a conventional bloke, maybe a bit pale, maybe he hasn't had a haircut in his life, but he's just a human being of flesh and blood. However, there are moments in the film where it looks like he also can become invisible, or this is how I understood it, or he can really basically slash people to ribbons, but we never see him wield any suitable weapon for that. He also isn't averse to biting people, so there is lots to that character, but it doesn't necessarily all add up very well. It was the time when Dario Argento had those kind of male villains with an oily, naked torso, and one of them was Thomas Kretschmann in the Stendhal Syndrome, and now we have this Julian Sands, who's also very fit in the movie despite his hairstyle. I think it was important for Dario at the time, so there would be his daughter as the female center of the movie, and then there would be like a counterpart, would be this white Caucasian guy with a six-pack or something. So yeah, a nice movie, a fun movie. It's really over the top in places. It's a bit like Genet and Caro films, you know, like City of Lost Children, or I don't know, Alien 4. In that kind of, you know, it has some of that. It's baroque, it's grotesque, it's tasteless. Some of it is blatantly unfunny, but it goes for jokes, and it also goes for the gore. And I quite like the violence in this movie, and I didn't mind the CGI so much. There are some spots where CGI is blatantly dated. However, I found it also charming, except for one scene, which is the infamous rooftop scene with this rat trap, with people writhing inside this gigantic rat trap. That is hideous. I wish they could have. There is the blue screen in that scene is like something from like a Black Sabbath video from 1976. You know, not good. I quite like this film, even though it's far from Dario's best work. The story doesn't work. The film drags. There are some misguided choices in the plot, and characters behave in odd ways at times. Dialogue is sometimes off the mark. But the film is beautiful, so you can just turn the sound down and let it run and let those images wash over you, and it's a Dario Argento movie. It's the Dario Argento experience for sure. So not a good place to start with Dario Argento, but as far as his movies go, he's done definitely less visually sumptuous films than this one here, Phantom of the Opera. So yeah, that was my day 10 of 31 Days of Horror. See you tomorrow.